thank you all for coming here again, and also thank you, Jos and Frank, for inviting me. I must say I was a bit surprised because, it's a ownCloud conference, and I'm a theater director, so it's very unlikely that I hold a keynote. And first I also thought, my God, I have no idea what I should tell you, because, what can I teach you about open source or all these topics that you don't already know? And I have no idea, of course. So I will try to really avoid the technical aspects of everything also that I have done, because I might be a bit embarrassed. I think that what I did in theater, I will get into the topic soon, is maybe an example how to open a very abstract topic to the broad audience. And in my case, it was about the Snowden revelations. It was concentrated on mass surveillance and everything that he revealed to the public. So what we learned from this is that this topic is so abstract and so invisible for most of the people. I think that people like you guys may be more familiar with it, and you can easily imagine the impact of it, that it has on everybody's lives. But I think for most people, and even I was surprised by the degree of ignorance or simple not knowledge, not because people are not interested, but it's also very difficult to get proper information on it. And it's very difficult to imagine what it really means. I mean, it's a little bit like climate change, there is just no catastrophic picture even. In the case of climate change, it's also very abstract, but on the other hand, you can imagine some picture of the oceans flooding over or whatever. But with mass surveillance, it's very difficult. And maybe the context or the connection to open source and stuff like that is that it's maybe also something that should be more in the broader public, not because everybody should be on the same level like you guys, but because I think that it's also one tool for the empowerment, and that's the connection to my topic, that the more people are independent from the huge companies and so on, the more secure they can be with their stuff and so on. But I will not get very deep into this, because I guess that you guys know more about it than I do. Okay. So what did I do? I got into this topic, I would say it started with another play that I did 3 years ago, and it was called Assassinate Assange. It was about WikiLeaks. And first, before I did that, I was doing a lot of Shakespeare, Chekhov, and the usual stuff that theater people do. And I must admit, I got somehow bored. And so how did I get to WikiLeaks? It was actually an accident, because I got so bored when I did King Oedipus that I was somehow got interested in Scientology for some reason, because it's so creepy and dark, and I don't know. And so being interested in Scientology led me to WikiLeaks, because they released some secret documents from Scientology. So that was really accidentally. Maybe I think it happened 4 years ago approximately. And so I had the idea after a while to make a play about WikiLeaks, because I thought, my God, it's such a good idea, to have this anonymous Dropbox for documents in the internet. And I was even thinking, my God, why didn't I come up with it? It's such a simple idea, but okay, it's much more complicated than the idea because of the technical aspects. Anyway, I was interested, and I thought, maybe I should meet Julian Assange to speak with him. He should explain it to me and so on. And at that point, it might have been even possible to contact him, but I was very relaxed about it. But later, as time went by and all the big revelations came out, it became nearly impossible to even get in touch with him at some point. So I kind of resignated. I thought, okay, I will do the play without the interview with him. Who cares? So I started researching and so on, and at some point the theater called me, and it was in Hamburg, and they said to me, he put himself on eBay. And I was like, what? And in fact, he did an auction with Slavoj Žižek, the philosopher, and they were auctioning a lunch it was at the time WikiLeaks had the banking blockade. PayPal, MasterCard and Visa was blocking the donations, so they were forced to find ways to somehow get some donations. So this was one idea, to put themselves on eBay and have a lunch, and afterwards also to be part, when you get one of these seats, it was 8 seats, you could see them also on a panel in London talking. Yes, the lunch was taking place in London, of course, because that was at the time when Assange had the electronic tag and was under house arrest. And anyway, I will put the story a bit short, so I will not speak about Sweden and all the other things, which were also topic at that point, but I will just jump to the point that I somehow managed to got one of the seats in the second round, which was lucky because in the first round on eBay, it cost, I think, over 4,000 pounds, and I only paid 1,600 euros, so it was lucky. Well, that was the starting point, and so I somehow got into this topic, and after this lunch, to my own surprise, Assange was wanting to contribute to the theater play, which was really surprising, and he didn't want money and anything, and he gave me really a lot of time. In the end, I ended up having hundreds of sheets of paper from our recorded discussions, and I had a lot of stupid questions because I had no idea, so we spoke for hours, actually for days. So that's how it started, and it took place, all of it took place in the Ecuadorian embassy. And I must say, in the process of all of this, I got very politicized, and after I finished the Assange play, yeah, that was 3 years ago, I decided to dig deeper into this topic. And I also went to a lot of conferences. The HOPE conference I visited twice in New York, Hackers on Planet Earth, maybe you guys know it too. And also, of course, the CCC camp in Hamburg. I mean, before it was in Berlin, but now it's in Hamburg. I went there also, I think, 3 times or something. And also more little conferences and stuff. And I got to know many, many people from the so-called hacker world. And yeah, it was, for me, it was very eye-opening, because I realized that it's not, I mean, technically everything, of course, for people like me is very complicated, but there is also an aspect of society and politics that is very important, I think. So I decided to do another play, and this time it was a much bigger project, which I want to show you a little bit. I will also show you some pieces on video. I hope it will work out well. It was called Super Nerds because based on an article that I wrote about the so-called super nerds, is actually people, I mean, it's a bit of a populistic term I used, but yeah, again, to get the attention of people who might not be interested in it. So you see, I'm sometimes willing to make some compromises in whatever taste and stuff to spread the message, you know. And so I had this concept of making a play that was not only, it was focusing on people who are whistleblowers, and one part of it was interviews that I did with them. So for 2 years or nearly 3 years, I started interviewing whistleblowers. Among them, Bill Binney, Thomas Drake, Jesslyn Reddick, also many human rights lawyers like Ben Weisner, who is now currently one of Snowden's lawyers, and also of course, I did lots of sessions with Assange again in the embassy, because he's of course very involved with that too. And then in the end, I also managed somehow to meet Edward Snowden in Moscow, which was very, very exciting and very complicated. It took me, I think, over a year to even, you know, somehow set it up. And I had 5 hours with him in a hotel room. I'm not able to tell you much more because of the strict protocol. And yeah, because also I promised him it's about his own security. So yeah, and all of these people were teaching me a lot, and not only these rather famous people, but also many people who are involved in this whole community of hackers, but also political activists and so on. And as time went by, I realized it's not enough to just talk about it and tell the people what I was told by the others or taught, because it's still very abstract. And even if I put actors on stage, which I did in the Assange play, it was mainly 13 white gorillas on stage, and they were all kind of Assange. You know, it was a very weird setting, but it worked out well, and so it was purely theater. But in this case, I thought, okay, I have to go a bit further and get to reach the bigger audience. So I connected myself with German national TV. Oh, what I didn't mention before, I'm a theater house, so-called house director at the National Theater in Cologne. So, which is a quite good position because you know, I don't have to fight for the money; it's already there and stuff, you know. And so yeah, and they were also willing to do everything for this topic and so on. So I was really lucky, and I'm there since 2 years, and I will keep working there for another 2 years. So I also connected with WDR, because they got interested in a co-production with the theater, but they didn't want to just film theater. It's always boring, you know. I mean, there's nothing worse than filmed theater. I mean, who wants to see that? I don't know. Even for me, it's a little bit like terror to see my own videos, you know. But anyway, so we also got some producers from Berlin involved, the Gebrüder Beetz, who also had some experience with sudden live gaming. They did it for Tatort and so on. And so, yeah, and that was the third thing. Okay, so we have first the interviews with the whistleblowers and people involved that I did. This was kind of the basic material on a text level. Then I wanted to make a, you know, how would I say this? A hybrid between TV, theater, radio, and internet, which sounds totally crazy and chaotic. And so the task was to somehow make it function, you know. And that's why these producers came in to kind of, you know, beware of the chaos, and also because they did this sudden live game, which I really wanted to do, because to make people feel what mass surveillance is, how vulnerable their devices are, and so on and so on. And so this was the second aspect. And so we, and the sudden live game started weeks before the opening night. So, and on opening night, theater and TV came together, meaning that we also had a studio in the theater set up. It was just in the rehearsal room nearby. You had only to cross the hall to reach it. And we had a older lady, Bettina Böttinger, who is a classical VDR moderator, who was wanting to do it for us, to interview people. And we had also some experts there, like Mr. Gutjahr, who was the tech guy, so to say, and also some lawyers and other people. For example, Wolfgang Kalek was there too, who is the German lawyer of Edward Snowden. And in the end, we also had a little gimmick, which was actually funny. We had a 3D hologram of Julian Assange from the embassy, who was also with the actors on stage, actually speaking with the actor who was playing him, which was kind of funny. That's how the play ended. And during the play, we, so to say, hacked. I mean, this is not really a term which I would use in front of real hackers, because it's not hacking in this sense, but we did use it to scare the shit out of people, actually. We hacked into their cell phones. I mean, a little bit of hacking was involved, but not in the classical sense. I mean, when they bought the tickets for the play, or the people who were watching it on TV could sign up if they wanted from their free will on the website that we had also. And so we were able to use their data. I mean, it was, I think they had to leave their email addresses, their birth date, and their, I'm not even sure, I think their address. And most of them also paid by credit card, so we were able to have a lot of data, actually, you know. And we, I mean, to be honest, we could have done much more dark things with it, but of course it's a German national theater, so, you know, they didn't really go into the dark, and so we stayed in the gray area, so to say. But still, if the people would have wanted, we know, because they had a whole legal team, you know, examining what could happen and go wrong, and so we learned that they could have done it, but the theater could have afforded to pay the costs for it. So we took the risk, you know. Anyway, so I will show you a little bit. I hope it's not too much. I can't even judge how boring it is to watch it actually on video. But I will show you some examples of it. And yeah, let's see. Some little things. No, I will tell you later. Okay. I will show you purely the beginning now first. And then like, let's say the first 4 or 5 minutes, and then I will jump around and show you like some examples, some more. This is the beginning when the...
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome you. Welcome to the theatre in Cologne. It's been very difficult to get in here. So, you know, we need to make sure that we guarantee security. I'm sure that you've seen this. And I can assure you that you're very safe here with us. What we're doing here is a very extraordinary theatre project. It's not just theatre. We're also involved with the TV. This evening, and that's the reason that we'll be starting at 8:15 p.m. exactly. We're not just here in the theatre, we also have a live broadcast on WDR TV. And what you can see at the back, where the lights are, we can first see our dressing rooms, and behind that is where we have our TV studio. And that's where the live broadcast will be going out from at 8:15 p.m. with our presenter, Bettina Böttinger. And while we're still talking here, if you have a little look over to this booth here, well, you can see that the radio is also here. The radio has already been broadcasting since 8:05 p.m. and they've been describing what's been going on here. And you can participate this evening as well. You have to participate because that's the only way that this whole project can work. So please, all take your mobile phones out. If you've got a mobile phone, it doesn't have to be a smartphone, so please just get your mobile phone out and show it to me. That's not all of them. So is there anybody here who doesn't have a phone with them? Yeah, congratulations. So what would you do if something bad happened? You know, if something bad happens this evening at home? Well, a very special thing that we have this evening. Please turn your mobiles on. Turn it on. And then also put the volume on. So don't have it on vibrate or on mute. Put it as loud as possible. And if you can, then turn your ringtone up really loud so that you can be heard. And if your phone rings, then let it ring. And, you know, if you think it's an urgent call, then answer it. I can already hear a phone ringing. So leave your phones on, please. So, for those of you who are here, who have a smartphone, well, we have a Wi-Fi network that you can use. You can use it and you should use it. So just go to your settings on your smartphone. So on my smartphone, it's an iPhone. You go to settings and then to Wi-Fi, you see that at the top. And then there's a Wi-Fi network that's called SuperNerds, like this evening. You don't need a password. Just click on the Wi-Fi network and you will be automatically logged in. And that's also important for this evening. So just to repeat that, for those who are just coming in, who maybe got held up at the entrance, if you have a smartphone, then please turn it on, or leave it on if it's already on, put the volume on, and then go onto the SuperNerds Wi-Fi network. So, our live program will be starting shortly. And our theater performance that has lots of interviews that our director Angela Richter has done will also be starting. And as I mentioned already, we have a live program this evening with our presenter Bettina Böttinger, who I would like to welcome to the stage here in the Schauspielköln Theater in Cologne.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, Thomas. Thank you very much.
What kind of phone do you have?
An iPhone 5. One of the old ones.
Yeah, I know.
I got it in black. Well, I have a new one in June, so I think most of us here have an iPhone, so...
Did I forget to say something?
I didn't hear all of what you said, but I think what's most important is that tonight TV and theatre come together. Maybe you could mention that yesterday we all got a very hard time.
Yeah, yesterday was really hard work. Yeah, well, maybe you were nervous as well, but you were able to cover it up. So it's starting.
I am very nervous too. Especially when I see all these nervous faces. We do have some intellectual people among us, I suppose. We do have to concentrate and give a good impression of what we're doing here. So please, keep your fingers crossed so that this evening is actually going to work out. Because it's been a lot of work in the run-up to this show. And so please keep your fingers crossed.
So, it'll start shortly. And this is the first time that I've worked together with the TV. So, we always need to have some applause when the presenter comes onto the stage. So, we'll have a short little break so that everybody can focus, so that our actors can get into their roles, so that the people in the TV studio can sort everything out. We need to make sure that all the contacts and all the live streams are sorted up. Did I mention that you have to turn your phones on?
I can actually see some empty seats.
Okay, I think that's enough as a first impression. I was just waiting for the dogs because at some point they show in the entrance area we had some drug dogs walking around who were sniffing on people, and they were also forced to go through these things that you have to go through on the airport and stuff, and so we did a lot of stuff to keep them secure, And it was, I must admit, it was really fun. It was a huge work, and in the night before was the general rehearsal, and we only had actually one rehearsal with really the TV people, and everything which could go wrong technically went wrong. So it was a nightmare. So this premiere night went good, thank God, but because everything that could go wrong just already did, so it was maybe even better. It was very interesting also for me because I couldn't imagine, you could see the audience. It was really very average theater audience, which is rather bourgeois, many people with gray hair and so on. And even in a topic like this, which is also the tendency to also draw younger people into theater, but still. And we were not sure if they would be willing, to use their phones and stuff, because we thought maybe they will be also a bit resistant or something. But as you could see, to our total surprise, they were just doing it, I think they were so happy that once they could have second screen in theater and we even allowed them to take their phone calls and this and that. Okay, what they didn't know, that was actually illegal. We sometimes turned it off, but that actually we shouldn't have done this from a legal perspective. Anyway, it was really big fun, and that was also my concept. I thought, okay, maybe it has to be somehow entertaining and everything, that in the end you can somehow get people to get serious again on the topic. And that I think that we did reach this goal. First of all, I was happy that it was really, really full. We had 10 shows in 14 days, which is a lot. We had to do it en suite because we always streamed it, and there was still the Ü-Wagen, I don't know the English word, of the TV on the outside for the whole time, and it was very expensive, so it was not possible to make it over months like usually in the theater, but we had to do it like en suite, which is not normal in such a big state theater. So we were very afraid that after the big hello on opening night and everything, it will go down. But we were very lucky. Nearly every show was sold out, and it's 600 people who are in the audience. It's a huge stage. It was 28 meters long and, you know, really huge. And so I was really lucky that it worked out, and very surprised, I must admit, because it was an experiment, and usually people like to see Shakespeare and stuff. They don't want to be harassed with some uncomfortable truths, or God knows, you know, like mass surveillance. So yeah, and so I was really happy, and it showed also that, yeah, because I must admit that, and this is somehow maybe something which is also connected to the whole open source versus free software debate, because I was in the beginning when I started to do this, and after I interviewed all the whistleblowers, I was thinking, oh my God, maybe I will betray all these people when I go very public, very popular, very polemic, and also simplistic in a way, you know, because that's what happens automatically. If you want everybody to understand, you automatically simplify things, you know, which is not okay. But as a first step to open it up to a larger public, it is okay, because when people get interested, then you will be able to get them more more complicated aspects, and they will probably be curious enough to do themselves too. So it's also kind of the try to empower them. So as I said, I had a lot of scruples in the beginning, but as time went by, I kind of, you know, throw them away and went full-time mainstream, you know. And yeah, I think that it was very good for the cause. And even then, we get a lot of attacks. Let's say the Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung, they made a whole page accusing me of doing the same stuff that the NSA does. They were referring to the Sudden Life game that we did, and it was going on for weeks. And, you know, people received emails from a friend of mine who you might know as well, Jacob Appelbaum, who was kind of making secret meetings with them and dates and this and that. And then they get a message, oh my God, something went wrong. We are sorry, you might be on a no-fly list now, and by mistake, and this and that, you know, little games like this. It was rather complicated. Even I thought that Jake was contacting me because I know him, so I kind of also totally forget that I'm in the game. So yeah, it was I didn't expect it to be so convincing. And finally the FAZ accused me of doing the same stuff that the NSA does, which is, you know, and it was a huge outrage, you know, how can you misuse the data of your audience and this and that. And I really wish that they would be as outraged about all the big companies and the NSA and God knows who doing the same stuff, but not in the name of enlightenment and theater and art, but in, you know, just for their profit or whatever other dark reasons. Anyway, so that was but I will not complain, because we also had really a huge media coverage in Germany. It was amazing, especially for such a topic, especially for theater. But we even got a spot on Tagesthemen, and that didn't happen to theater since, I don't know, the RAF went to Stuttgart or something, I don't know. And so, yeah, enough of my own things. I will show you a little bit more. I think I'm running out of time, actually, or how much time do I have? Okay, good. I mean, I can talk for 10 hours, so no, don't be afraid, no. Okay, now I will show you just a little bit of theater, which is maybe the most risky stuff. It's just the beginning, because the actual theater play was started by a question that I posed nearly to every whistleblower I met. And it was, what did you do on 9/11? How did you spend your day? But okay, many of my whistleblowers worked for the NSA, and it was kind of funny to see it from their perspective, you know, and especially with Thomas Drake, whose first day at work it was at the NSA on 9/11. I mean, incredible. So I will show you just a little part of this, then stop it, and then jump to other stuff. Okay. Okay, that's the moment when the TV goes out and theater comes in.
One special date. A date that you can probably all remember. A date that is burned into our memories.
Ja, ich erinnere mich noch sehr genau.
Yes, I can still remember it exactly. It was this incredibly crystal clear morning. Cloudless sky that morning, up and down the East Coast. I'd just begun at the NSA, and that was actually my first day on the job. My title was Senior Change Leader, and I remember the executive assistant came in, didn't knock, just opened up the door in the back of the room and said there was some freak accident. Some plane hit one of the World Trade Center towers. That's the moment where the rest of my life changed. Completely.
I had been at work for a couple of hours when the Pentagon was hit. From my window, I could see the plumes of smoke rising up right behind the Washington Memorial. I was working for the government at the time, in the Ministry of Justice, just around the corner. My boss didn't know whether to send everyone home or not. In the end, he said that everyone should decide for themselves. In retrospect, this might seem stupid, but I simply grabbed my bag, a bottle of water, some peppermints and a bag of M&Ms and headed home. I had to hitchhike because there were no trains running. Everyone was giving people a lift. Some people were even sitting on car roofs. All we wanted was just to get home, no matter how.
I'd just woken up and was smoking my morning joint when I was confronted with these events on TV. To be honest, my memories of that day are pretty vague. But what I do remember is that moment where I realized that something is fundamentally wrong with the entire American establishment. Shortly after the attacks, people seriously started saying, respected news anchors as well, they started saying that maybe it was a good thing that irony was now dead. After a century of mass murder and totalitarian slavery, of crimes more atrocious than had ever been seen in the history of humankind, a comparatively rather minor disaster in the USA was to see the end of political satire.
Okay, irony is dead. Okay, I will interrupt Barrett Brown. Yes, that was somebody who I was not able to interview directly. He's an American journalist. Some of you might know him. And he was connected to Anonymous. He was kind of an unofficial speaker of them. And it's a long story that I will not tell now. He ended up in jail. And my only possibility to communicate with him was through jail email system Corlinks. Unfortunately, I was sending him a bunch of questions and he answered it by writing an essay. And this is just a little part of the essay that I incorporated in my play. And sadly, after he sent me this essay, which was very political and very harsh, a day later I got a message from the Corlink system that he was cut off his email system. And it is going till today. I mean, this was like half a year ago, and I think they cut him off for 1 year. And yeah, so I was not even able to even communicate with him. But okay, this is just on a side note about also the political implications of all this, because I mean, as I said, I tried to make it very funny and so on, and entertaining and even ironic maybe in some points. But it was just a tool to really spread the message, and also in a way, I hope, and I think it worked out to a certain degree, to creep out people a little bit about the reality. I mean, not by telling them some stuff that's not true, but actually by trying to reveal some true aspects of it. Okay, so now I will jump on the so-called specialist who we had, Richard Gutjahr. I think he's also kind of a popular version of a geek or something, at least in the mainstream media. And just to show you how this was handled, I will show you a little part. Okay, oh, no, that's too far.
They warn us about mass surveillance in the digital world. They're being persecuted, arrested, and driven into exile for what they did. Daniel Ellsberg, 84 years old, former US Marine officer, godfather of all whistleblowers, released the Pentagon Papers in 1972. These papers revealed that the US government had systematically lied about the reasons for getting involved in the Vietnam War. Documents can make a difference. It's probably very risky to publish them, but they can bring about political change. Tom Drake, 58 years old, former senior NSA analyst, revealed non-classified NSA data to the press, denounced the NSA's unconstitutional interception practices in front of control bodies. I took an oath to defend the Constitution, not to defend the USA. Edward Snowden, 31 years old, former NSA contractor, publicly disclosed classified documents on the mass surveillance of our communication, copied and leaked over a million secret NSA documents. We have a right, as Americans and as members of the global community, to know what the government is doing and how they are doing it, even more so if it affects our daily lives. Julian Assange, 43 years old, activist and publisher, founder of the whistleblowing website WikiLeaks, published a number of classified documents, for example, documents about the US involvement in Iraq, wants to prevent intelligence agencies and companies from exercising power through non-disclosure. Every one of us has been spied upon by the NSA. Everyone using the internet is under surveillance. We are living in a global surveillance state. We are currently being surveilled all the time.
What we just heard is the NSA, but it's not just about the NSA, it's about our daily life. So please, viewers at home, participate in tonight's show. You are aware that when you pay with your credit card, you can be surveilled. All the data that's out there is used to trade our freedom for security. I'm very happy to have Richard Gutierrez with us tonight. Hello, Richard. You are kind of our link to the world out there, to the internet. I was already puzzled what you can do with a tiny bit of data. What's going to happen tonight?
Well, what's not been mentioned yet, and what nobody knew until now, is that our premiere, the audience who are at the theatre show, who are here in the theatre, well, actually there are guinea pigs. They bought tickets, and to be able to buy the tickets, they had to also disclose some data, for example, their address and their phone number. And with these few harmless pieces of data, we can play some little pranks on them.
So what I reveal when, for example, I order something online is something that I don't worry about. For example, revealing my phone number.
Yeah, we think that it's normal, and there's nothing wrong with data in itself. But if it gets into the wrong hands, and tonight we're talking about our hands, then what we want to show is what people can do with these few little pieces of harmless data, and that's where you come into it at home. Those of you who are tuned in at home, because you can participate, and you can also set the tone, because you can tell us how far we can push our theatre audience and how much we should really just torture them with their data, so to speak. And so, as you heard, supernerds.tv is our website. If you have a mobile device, take it, go to our website, and then you can see this page. And not only can you switch between the various live...
Okay, that's maybe enough. He's explaining how the people who are watching TV can also get involved and so on. And then he's also posing a moral question later. He's asking the TV audience to vote if they want that we spy on the audience in the theater, that we reveal some of the data, because we had of some people in the audience, we prepared some dossiers about their life, which was also quite surprising how much you can find out actually about people, about their finances, about their life structure, even their relatives who died recently, and so on, which is rather normal, I guess. But if you hear it very concretely, it's still kind of shocking. And guess what the TV audience voted for? I think it was 80% said, yes, we want to spy on the audience. And on the other hand, when we asked the audience in the theater if, for the sake of their security, they want to give their data away, you know, to be safe, which is the argument always of the politicians, you know, we are just using it for your own security, you know. I mean, security became a religion, actually. So anyway, it was that we asked the audience if they would give their personal data to be secure. And funnily, in every show of 10 shows, it was between 80 and 97% who said no. I mean, it was really interesting, so yeah. But on the other hand, when you always ask about the bad instincts, people will always say, yeah, go spy into the others, you know, but not in me, you know. That's what we learned from this. Well, I will try to get slowly to the end. So we did a lot of stuff. I will only show you 2 more clips, which are not so long. One is an example which is very easy to do actually, because of course we had all their data, including their phone numbers and so on. So it was not so difficult. It was a technical aspect only to make them all ring, you know. So we did that a few times. And first we did very harmless stuff. Okay, who is living in Cologne on the left side of the Rhine River and who is living on the right side, which seems banal, which it is, but for them it's a big thing, you know, I don't know. Really. And we did that, and then we also had a heat map. I will show it actually to you, and also we tried to find out who will get a credit by a bank, like a mortgage or something, and it was very few of them. So, and then it's not my fault. God knows what they, and they also we wanted to see who was watching porn online, and we were also able to do that. But in the end, we didn't. You know, we didn't let them ring because we didn't want to embarrass them. I mean, with sex, you know. But okay, I will show you this little piece. Where is it? Ah, okay. Oh. Okay, it's somehow starting here. Oh my God, I'm not able to make it precise. I don't want you to watch too much theater, I'm sorry. Okay.
Klingeln jetzt einige Handys.
So, we can hear some mobiles ringing, and this is no coincidence.
Und der Grund, warum diese Handys gerade nicht zufällig klingeln,
And so, why is it not a
wird uns
coincidence?
jetzt
Well, we're going to let you into the secret, because Richard Gutjahr is going to join us from the studio and explain what's going on. Good evening, theater audience. I think we don't know each other yet. My name is Richard Gutjahr, and I'm in charge of the data this evening. And not just any old data, but your data. The data that you were so kind to give us voluntarily when you bought your ticket for this evening. And this harmless data, well, we can actually do quite a lot of pranks with that data. Today, this evening, we have an audience, and you're not just sitting in a random order. We know exactly where you're sitting, and that's why we can also say which postcode each person has. And so we can have all mobile phones ringing for all those people who live to the east of the River Rhine in Cologne. So all those people who live to the east. So I'm just going to listen in to the theater auditorium, and maybe we'll hear a few mobiles ringing.
Ja, klingelt da was?
Yep, a few are ringing.
Falls nicht, würden wir aus dem
If not, then
sagen, it's not a bug, it's a feature.
yeah, we'd say it's not a bug, it's a feature.
Fehler, sondern es ist geplant gewesen, aber ich höre gerade,
you know,
dass Telefon
it's
oder
planned.
Telefone klingeln.
But I can hear that there are
Wir
some
können
mobiles ringing.
akustisch Ihre Daten zum Klingeln bringen,
But,
sondern wir können
you know,
das Ganze
we
auch
can't just make your mobiles
dazu
ring.
blenden wir
We
jetzt
can also
über
have a
die
look at what's
Kamera
going
und schauen
on.
uns
So we're going to
Sie
switch
an,
to the other
sehr
camera
verehrte Damen
and
und
have a
Herren,
little
wir
look at the
Publikum und gucken,
theatre audience,
wo
at
es
you, ladies and
heute
gentlemen, who are sat there in the
geklingelt
theatre.
hat. Das
And
machen
we'll
wir mit
see
einer sogenannten Heatmap.
whose
Das kennen
phones
Sie
were ringing. And we can
aus
do
dem
this with a
Wetterbericht, und
heat up.
dort
You probably know this from the weather forecast. So where you can see it's red, that's where people are sitting who live on the east side of the River Rhine in Cologne. And while we're at it, let's just try the other side. Let's find out who lives on the west of the river. So, who lives to the west of the River Rhine?
Das sind deutlich mehr Telefone.
A lot more phones. So, just to show you this visually again, we'll just have another look at a heat map, and we'll just see, wow. Very interesting. So many of you live to the west of the river. So that was just a warm-up. Now let's check your creditworthiness. Ladies and gentlemen, we can find this out as well. Just with these few pieces of information, we can find out things like this. And we do this in exactly the same way as a bank would do this. So we start with your postcode. And then we look at the average credit values in the area that you live in. So we're talking about purchasing power. We're talking about households with children. We look at the average income, and we also look at crime rates in the area that you live in. And we can make an aggregate of this. And before we started this program, we did an analysis of every single one of you. So let's please have all mobile phones ringing of those people where we know that you would definitely get a loan from a bank. And here we can also have a look at it visually. How many of you in the audience would have no problem getting a loan based on this data? Well, those darker areas, well, don't be ashamed and don't be worried. We don't have all the data that you have, but we have enough to be able to say that 2/3 of the people here at this premiere would possibly have problems getting a loan from the bank. And this is all just based on the few pieces of information, this very little amount of data, very small amount of data that you just gave us. But I think Yuri, are you there? Yes, I think there's something that also interests you about our theater audience this evening. Yes, so we know where you live. We already knew that before. We showed you that we know that. We also know how much money you've got. But what we don't know is about sex. Sex is a bit of a taboo in Germany, but it's not in the theater. So, using your IP addresses, we had a little look, and we wanted to find out who, in the last 48 hours, visited a porn website. So, let's have all those mobile phones ringing. Interesting.
Hätte ich nicht gedacht.
I wouldn't have thought that.
Keusches Publikum.
Fairly prude
Wir haben
audience.
gestern ein Testpublikum gehabt.
We had a test audience yesterday, and we thought we'd play a little joke on them.
2/3 der Telefone
And
klingeln zu lassen.
2/3 of the mobiles then started ringing.
Ich fand das untertrieben,
I thought that was actually a little bit,
aber
too
sehr
few.
Moment.
Okay, so we were making jokes about that, but we didn't want to actually embarrass them. I mean, we did embarrass I'm sorry, I'm a bit too loud, baby. We did embarrass the others the day before, but they signed up for it. Anyway, okay, I will come to the end and just jump, not say no more. I think you've seen enough. I mean, I will jump just to the moment when the whole thing was over, at least on TV. That was the version that you see now was the stuff that was broadcasted. In theater, of course, there was a lot of more theater and less TV. There were moments when it came together, as you can see here, and this is the part that was broadcasted on WDR. And by the way, if you are interested, on the 5th of September at Dreisat, they will show a new version of this thing. they will show something with 60% theater and 40% TV. It's a new cut. I didn't see it yet, actually. So if somebody's interested, I don't know the exact time, I must admit. It's in the evening. But if you're interested, you can sure check it out, just to tell you. And I will just jump to the end where the TV show ended. And it ended actually with the hologram of Julian. And after that, but the theater show was still going on for another half hour. Okay. So let's see. When is it actually? Oh.
Because it was a fluid. And the guy said, well, if you put it on a bread roll, then you can go through. I think that's somebody who sympathizes with terrorists.
Good evening.
Julian!
Guten Abend, Herr Assange. Wie geht es Ihnen? How are you?
Well, I would be very pleased to be.
Ich wäre gern hier in Deutschland.
Well, I would be very pleased to be here in Germany.
Well, I can understand. How do you feel after 3 years of being detained without official charge?
To be detained 4.5 years without.
Wenn man 4,5 Jahre
To be detained for 4.5 years without charge in Europe. Well, something is wrong with Europe. Many things are wrong with Europe, such as the United Kingdom being in Europe. The United Kingdom should be pushed out of Europe if it can't obey basic principles of European law.
What do you think? Which influence does this situation have on your life?
Well, it's difficult.
Es ist schwierig.
Well, it's difficult. It's very difficult for my family and my young children to be in a situation they need to be protected, as various death threats have been made against them and so on. So I'm angry about the situation. But on the other hand, WikiLeaks is still going.
When you look at the Snowden revelations about mass surveillance that were leaked in the last few years, how do you feel?
We go from being a surveillance state.
We go from being a surveillance state, which is the fact about society, Western society principally, into being a surveillance society, where everyone has the mindset that they are being spied upon all the time. And that mindset is like, we're a young couple in love with extremely paranoid parents who have bugged every room in the house, have bugged the car, and have even bugged every tree in the park. It changes behavior, love becomes a pantomime, and society itself starts to shift.
If you look from now into the future, what do you see? Wenn Sie von heute dem Wissen, das Sie haben, in die Zukunft blicken, was glauben Sie, wie wird diese Zukunft aussehen?
There's a number of possibilities. One possibility is that the geometric growth that we are seeing in the national security sector, principally in the United States, but also in other countries, continues on in an exponential curve. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Society gets national security cancer. That's when one organ, in this case the national security organ, grows so much it starts to consume the energy and resources of the rest of the host, and so the host dies. We saw that in the Soviet Union, where the military-industrial sector grew so big it consumed the resources of the rest of the society. That's the optimistic scenario. Civilization collapses.
If that's the optimistic scenario, what is the pessimistic one?
Well, that was the optimistic scenario.
Well, that was the optimistic scenario, because when civilization collapses, it can be reformed. Perhaps, in a different way, that doesn't have this feature. If it continues on without collapse, then what we're going to see is an increasing homogeneity, increasing performism, a totalitarian sense, that everyone must conform with the dominant power structure in society. In this case, it's going to be the surveillance sector and institutions that are connected to it. We're going to end up in some kind of postmodern version of North Korea.
Julian Assange, thank you very
Julian
much for
Assange,
this, and all the
thank
best
you
for
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
All the best for you.
Okay, it was not easy to make Assange be so quick and short, you know. Okay, anyway, this, and I will just jump that we don't wait too long anymore to the end where he's calling actually everybody in the audience. I hope I can manage. Let's see.
Is himself a potential subject. But if you know someone who is in contact with a potential subject, you are also a potential subject. So that's one of the basic rules we have learned from Snowden. I don't know why Angela Merkel's phone was tapped. Were people afraid that Julian Assange would call her? I can't imagine that. But what we've learned tonight is that our mobile phones are mobile box. So be careful who you're calling and who is calling you. Maybe one call by Julian Assange and it's your turn. Okay.
Okay, that was actually the end. And in the end, some of them were too afraid to pick up because it was really a London number. And and when they pick up, they had actually a pre-recorded voice message from Julian saying if they have some secret documents, they think that should be in the public eye, that they should go to wikileaks.org and contribute. You know, that was a little bit of an... and this is also the end of the show when we hear him saying this. Okay, so that was basically it. And yeah, I think it's an example how to... make a topic which is actually no fun in real or also very serious, kind of approachable to people who have no idea, because yeah, it's actually I really wanted to make it very entertaining in order to make people interested in it. And also later the feedback was really strong, and people, many of them were of course after that interested in encryption and the whole topic. So we got a lot of feedback on that. And yeah, I think in the end it was really good to make all these compromises and also to really go very mainstream in order to kind of spread the message. Okay, I hope you will make your own conclusions to all of this, and I really wish you a good conference for the next time. Thank you very much.